and welcome to Series 2 of the BCS Sport or BCS Podcast. This series I'm going to be chatting to a member of the GB baseball women's team and a youth baseball coach among others, as well as also previewing the upcoming NFL and NBA seasons. But let's begin this series by previewing the upcoming English Premier League season, which kicks off this Friday. And let's begin with the defending champions. Manchester City are going for an unprecedented fifth consecutive Premier League title this season. While it has to be said that a very much not full strength Man City team did beat a near full strength Man United team in the Community Shield this weekend, there are some concerns given that City have only signed the 20-year-old winger Sabinho thus far. They haven't replaced Julian Alcaraz, and it's still uncertain as to whether first choice goalkeeper Ederson will be leaving before the transfer window closes. Arsenal are also going to be in the title hunt again this season and are certainly going to hope to be able to challenge Man City, given that they finished second to City the last two seasons. And it does have to be said that Arsenal do seem to be mounting a serious title challenge, given that they've improved what was already the Premier League's best defence last season by signing Italian international Riccardo Calafiore. While it is arguable that they do still need to add some depth in the central midfield and centre forward positions, hopes are high at the Emirates. For more on this, let's hear from Arsenal fan Freddie Law-Keane.
I wanted to wait to make this video because I thought a few moves might have just fallen, and one of them's been confirmed, and one of them, another big one, is in the offing, and it seems close. So, fantastically, we brought in Riccardo Calafiore from Bologna, who will be one of the two key players for that left back side, which was probably our most rotated, or the position that needed most answering in terms of a regular squad player in from last season. So that's a great addition. But the big questions going into this season is second in the Premier League, going into the last day, ending second, quarterfinals Champions League, and then round 4 in the Carabao and the third round of the FA Cup. These knockout competitions, we need to be showing ourselves to be a serious threat in them. A serious threat. We need to be penciling ourselves in for these semi-finals. We need to get ready to win these trophies, and if you don't have experience going distance, then those big matches get harder and harder, and we need to solidify ourselves as quarterfinals minimum of the Champions League, because that's where the big teams play. If you're there every year in those last 8 teams, then you are known as a place to be and a team to be. And the Premier League, will this be the year to take on City? Every year I hope Pep and City's appetite dampens. It never seems to. However, this year we get that little bit better every year, and I think this will be the year that Arsenal win the Premier League.
Following the resignation of the hugely popular Jurgen Klopp, Liverpool will also be hoping to once again mount a title challenge under new head coach Arne Slot. There has, however, been some disquiet given that Liverpool are yet to make any signings thus far this summer. For more on this, let's hear from sports writer and Liverpool fan Andrew Beasley.
Hi everyone, my name's Andrew Beasley. I'm a Liverpool fan and I also write about the club professionally. I've written for the club's official website, Liverpool Echo, places like that. I also wrote this book that's behind me. So looking ahead to the new season then, in terms of signings, there haven't actually been any yet. They are the only club in the Premier League that hasn't signed anyone yet. I think they're the only team in Europe's Big 5 leagues that haven't signed anybody yet. And clearly that's leading to a little bit of unrest in certain corners of the fan base on social media and no doubt in real life too. There are plenty of rumours. Anthony Gordon, they made a move for him from Newcastle, would be a good signing. Also Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad. But as yet, nothing's happened. So there isn't really too much to comment on there. What I will say, I don't think there's sort of glaring holes in the squad. But clearly, I think freshening it up for the new season would obviously be a good thing if they can get a deal or two done. In terms of the issues, I suppose the obvious one is that Jurgen Klopp left at the end of last season and there's a new manager, Arne Slot, who's come in. The signs are positive from the pre-season games. They beat Real Betis, Arsenal, Man United, Sevilla, and drew with Las Palmas in a behind-closed games yesterday, as I record this on Monday morning. Plenty of goals scored and not too many conceded. I think there are concerns legitimately that they may concede the odd goal. They're sort of inviting pressure at the back, and better, well-drilled teams, once they're up to speed, are going to take advantage of that. So, don't be surprised if they concede a silly goal or two at some point this season, perhaps while they're sort of bedding it in and teething issues and stuff like that. But generally, the sort of optimism is there, I think, regarding Slot. He did a very good job at Feyenoord, won the Dutch league with them, didn't retain it, but did so with the highest points total in club history last season. So, he looks ready for a step up to a big league job, and hopefully he proves that with Liverpool. In terms of what they might achieve this season, I think it would be a big ask for them to win the league with a new manager coming in and as yet no signings. Equally, the same squad was top in, I think, the first week of April last season, so they didn't fall that far short. Perhaps Slot's slightly more possession-focused, balanced style will mean that the team doesn't get quite so worn out chasing games. There was a lot of chasing games last season, frequently conceding the first goal and having to put more into every game to get back into it, and that inevitably takes a toll on the squad. So if they can avoid doing that, a few boring 2-0 wins at home and stuff like that with a more measured style, it may enable him to get a tiny bit more out of the squad than Klopp did, at least in terms of keeping players fit and stuff like that, which would obviously be good. So I think they're probably looking at finishing third behind Manchester City and Arsenal, but that wouldn't be a bad first season for a new manager when he's replacing Klopp, because that's a huge ask. I'm not saying they can't win the title, I just don't think necessarily that they will.
After last season's triumph in the FA Cup, Erik ten Hag is going to hope that he can get his Manchester United side back into the title hunt as well. While Lani Yoro and Joshua Zirkzee are both very promising signings that are full of potential, and Matthias de Ligt is a genuinely world-class defender that's been playing at the top of the European game for the last 8 seasons, and he is only 25 as well, so he's arguably not even still in his prime. I do have to say, but I don't think Man United have still got the depth or the quality needed to be able to compete with the teams that I've already mentioned. And it also has to be said, it's yet to be seen whether Jadon Sancho can also be fully integrated back into the Manchester United team following last season's fallout with Ten Hag. In terms of the teams competing for the European places, you would think that Newcastle, Tottenham, Chelsea and Aston Villa will all be in the hunt, given that they've signed Julian Lopetegui as their new manager, and the very concerted effort that they've made to add both depth and quality in the signings that they've made this summer. You would also expect West Ham to be in the hunt for those European places too. For more on 2 of these teams, let's hear from friends of the show, Nick Wright and first, Joe Lenton.
Hi everyone, I am Joe Lenton and I'm a Newcastle United fan. Getting excited about the new season. Not the most lively transfer activity so far for my team. We've signed Lewis Hall, who is a young left back from Chelsea after he was with us all last season, which I'm quite excited about because I think going forward, we get the right England manager, he could be the person we need to play left back for England, so watch this space. We did sign the Greek #1 goalkeeper from Nottingham Forest, but as with a lot of Greek names, I really don't want to offend anyone, so I'm not even going to attempt to say his name, but I think he's probably going to play second fiddle to Nick Pope most of the season, who's now back after a bit of an injury at the end of last season. We've got Lloyd Kelly from Bournemouth on a free. He's quite a young centre-back, because I think the key is at the moment we're getting a lot of young players in and kind of trying to bring them on, so we'll see how that goes. I'm quite excited, although we haven't just signed him, we've got Tonali back after his really, really long betting ban. I think he's got a couple of more games to serve his ban and then he's back, so I know that cliche, he's probably going to be a bit like a new signing. Unresolved issues this season, we probably need to get a new right winger and replace Almiron, because for all the effort and stuff he puts in, he's can be a little bit hit and miss and a bit dodgy. Probably need another centre-back because Botman's done his ACL. Rumours are swirling around Mark Gay from Crystal Palace, which I'd actually be well chuffed about because he was pretty good for England in the tournament in the summer. So fingers crossed on that one. And then Kieran Trippier, lots of rumours about him going to Saudi Arabia. The start of last season, I'd been gutted if we were on the verge of losing him, but he had such a hit and miss season last season. I don't actually think it would be a bad thing, and it'd probably give Livramento a chance to come through, who's another really, really good prospect, potentially for England in the future as well. So we'll see what goes on there. And then we kind of need another striker because Callum Wilson is the backup to Isak at the moment, and he is very, very, very injury prone. More injury. As for prospects this season, I think because unfortunately we didn't get in the Champions League this season, I think that's actually going to play to our strengths, and I'm hoping we're going to get top 4. I think we can push everyone, all the other big teams, right to the end, just with our passion and the way we play and the speed and the amount we harass and annoy other teams, to be fair.
Hello there, my name is Nick. I am a Tottenham Hotspur season ticket holder for my sins. I go to the vast majority of games, home and away, and I'm here to talk about the upcoming season, year 2 of the Big Ange revolution. So far this summer, we haven't seen loads of activity. We have seen Lucas Bergvall come in from Sweden. We signed him in January. He's come in to challenge Maddison for that attacking midfield role. Then we've made 2 big summer signings. The first being 18-year-old Archie Gray from Leeds, played at right back, young player of the year there last season. I think he's one for the future, primarily a central midfielder, although filled in at right back as he's learning his trade. I think he had an outstanding season in the Championship, and I think everybody at the club is really excited as to what he's going to do at Tottenham. I think he looks the part in pre-season. It's very skillful, very composed on the ball. Decision making not quite there yet, but I think that will come in time. So excited to see how he integrates into the squad. And then recently we've just signed Dominic Solanke for 65 million all in. I think whilst the price tag seems a bit hefty, we've been crying out for another striker since Harry left last summer. I think Solanke has everything you need in a Big Ange system. I think he presses well. I think he scores goals. I think he'll link up really well with the other players we have up there, and I think he's really important for the season ahead. I think we're still looking to do a bit more activity. We still need a right winger really that fits the Ange model a bit better, taking people on one-on-one. I think we're looking at that, or we're looking for another creative player up there, someone like Eze, and then I think we'll look to sign maybe a left back or somebody else for the squad, just that defensive bit. The season ahead is looking interesting. Last year we started incredibly well and then tailed off towards the end of the season. I think everybody was aware of our defensive issues, conceding quite a lot of goals on the transition, a lot of space at the back. So we're looking to see some improvement there. We're looking to see players getting a lot more comfortable in the system. We had a lot of injuries last year, the way that Ange expects the players to press and to work hard. So hopefully they're more adapted this year and we can push on and have an even better season after finishing 5th last year. Obviously we're going to have a much tougher schedule with Europe this year, which we didn't have last year. I think those games are going to be important to get some of the squad players in. For example, someone to look out for is 17-year-old Mikey Moore, who looks to be the next big thing coming through the Tottenham Academy and already integrated into the first team squad. But I think we're looking at a promising season. I think we could be anywhere from 3rd to about 7th. I'm optimistic. I'm going to say this Tottenham team finishes 4th, and fingers crossed we get that elusive trophy.
Looking at the mid-table sides, both Crystal Palace and Fulham should be okay, although a lot of that will depend on whether Palace can retain both Eze and Mark Gahey, both of whom played well for England during this summer's European Championships. You would also expect Brighton and Hove Albion to do well, although this will depend on whether new coach Fabian Hazella can adapt well and quickly to the Premier League, and Brighton's famed recruitment team can continue to work wonders in replacing departed club stalwart Pascal Gross, who has now moved on to Borussia Dortmund. In terms of the promoted teams, both Leicester City and Southampton are returning to the Premier League after a 1-year absence, and both will hope to achieve at least mid-table security, although there's every chance that they could struggle given the size of the gap in between the Premier League and the Championship in terms of quality. Meanwhile, Ipswich Town are returning to the Premier League for the first time in 22 seasons and are certainly going to hope that they can continue to do well after 2 promotions in 2 seasons. For all the inspiration that Ipswich Town's journey these past 2 seasons from League One straight up to the Premier League has provided, I can't help but think that the Premier League is going to be a step too far for them, and that they, along with the 2 promoted teams, Nottingham Forest and maybe even Wolves, could all be in the relegation battle this season. Unless they find a way to replace Dominic Solanke, there's a real danger that Bournemouth could also struggle, and if Ivan Toney leaves by the transfer deadline, Brentford could also be in that relegation fight as well. For all the hard work Sean Dyche has done last season to keep Everton up, there is still a very serious chance that Everton could also be deducted more points, as they're still in a dispute with the Premier League over around £17 million in stadium interest payments. Depending on the severity of any points penalty that is handed down, then there's every chance that Everton could end up starting life at the new stadium at Bramley-Moore Dock in the Championship next season then. Finally, let's hang back to our contributors to find out who they think are going to win the Premier League this season.
I think it's very hard to look past Manchester City, but I'm going to say Arsenal, mostly because I think we'd all like a bit of a change, but also because they were incredibly good last season. Their numbers, I'm someone who focuses on the statistics, their numbers were really impressive last season, and I don't think it would have taken too much for them to have actually won the league. So they've been runners-up twice now. It's often common for a team to finish second before taking that final step, and Arsenal may well be ready to do that, but let's be honest, Manchester City will probably just win it, and it'll be boring again, unfortunately.
In all likelihood, I think it could be the year Arsenal might pit Man City to it, so it'd be nice to see another team win it. If it's not us, then Arsenal will be alright, I guess.
Who's going to win the league? Well, I hope it's not those scum from south of the river, South London, Woolwich, Arsenal. Let's hope it's Man City.
For now, that's the end of another episode of the BCS Podcast. As always, I thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you again next time when we will be previewing the upcoming NFL season. Bye bye now! The BCS Podcast is written, produced, edited and hosted by me, Brett Walker. Thank you to Music Unlimited and Pictorbay for the use of the music and sound effects. This episode features contributions from Andrew Beasley, Freddie Law Keane, Joe Lenton and Nick Wright.